Syrian forces have taken full control of the last major militant stronghold near the Lebanese border, driving away hundreds of insurgents. In their latest drive to clear more areas from militants, the Syrian troops managed to enter the strategic town of Yabrud on Saturday. They advanced deep into the town that is located north of the capital, Damascus. The government forces dismantled a large number of explosive devices planted by insurgents in residential neighborhoods. Some 1,000 militants are reported to have fled into neighboring Lebanon. The takeover of Yabrud will cut supply lines for foreign-backed insurgents who have been fighting the Syrian government for 3 years. To get the latest on that, we're now joined by Muhammad Ali, Press TV's correspondent, who's joining us live now from the Syrian capital, Damascus. Now, Muhammad, tell us about the significance of this capture of Yabrud.
Yes, it is a very important victory for the Syrian army, for the interest of the Syrian army, as today the General Command of the Syrian Army and Armed Forces have officially announced that the Syrian Army and Armed Forces were able to fully clear and secure Yabrud after killing and clearing it of the foreign-backed militants. Previously, there have been, as you know, Nusra Front, Qaeda-linked Nusra Front militants fighting inside the town, and they were positioned there for a couple of years in this area of Yabrud in the Al-Qalamun region in Damascus northern countryside. This is the last stronghold for the foreign-backed insurgents inside the town of Yabrud. Yabrud is the last stronghold in Al-Qalamun region in general. And of course, by clearing it of militants, the Syrian army has now completed securing the whole northern countryside of Syria's capital, Damascus, of foreign-backed insurgents, which means first, Damascus is now secured from the north. There would be no attack against the city of Damascus from the northern countryside. There will be no infiltration attempts by militants who try to enter from Lebanon, from the north into Damascus, and there will be no smuggling operations and smuggling of weapons. This is why it is a very strategic and important victory for the Syrian army. During the fighting, which ended in the early hours of this morning, many leaders of the foreign-backed militants were killed. Deputy chief and deputy leader of the so-called Nusra Front, Abu Azzam al-Kuwaiti, was killed. Abu Malik, the nicknamed Abu Malik, head of al-Nusra Front there, was also injured, among also other battalions of foreign-backed militants, meaning that there were huge losses inflicted by the Syrian army on the militants in this battle.
And so going forward, Mohammed, what should we expect now to happen now that Yabrud has been cleared, now that that supply line has been cut off? What happens next?
Well, what happens next is that the Syrian army continues its military operations against the militants on the border line between Lebanon and Syria, meaning that this major offensive that happened in the northern countryside of Damascus is part of another offensive by the Syrian army from Homs countryside. As you know, Homs and its countryside is also linked with Lebanon. There are borders between them. The Syrian army also started its operations there. The first victory was by securing El Zara town, which is in the countryside of Homs and close to the Lebanese borders. Now there are other areas on the borders with Lebanon that the Syrian army will continue to secure by eliminating all the armed men there, in addition to other battles that the Syrian army would be now more free and more able to carry out after finishing one of the major countrysides of Damascus. For example, Damascus eastern countryside, which we are expecting to see battles there intensifying now.
Okay, Mohammed, thanks a lot for that.